Hello YouTubers and welcome back to this channel. In this video I'm going to continue on the build that I did last time with the flower glass Corvette, and then I'm going to incorporate this thing. This is a kit of the SO Glasgow that was a kit from Revel that I bought for, I don't know, 15, 16 years ago maybe, and as you can see it's pretty crap. I painted it when I was like 12 or 13, and yeah, it's a pretty shoddy job I did of it back then. Now my plan is to do something like this and chop the ship in half and make it look like it's been torpedoed. Now obviously the ship needed a bit of work. I had to cut off all the ropes and wiring that I did to it years ago because, well, obviously I'm going to chop everything in two. And I thought that somewhere around about the middle would be good, about here, just like in the picture. I thought that was a pretty nice picture, so I'm going to use that for my inspiration. While I was cutting this, I learned that, well, yeah, you have to think before you do anything. I wasn't actually planning on breaking the mast, but I did. Obviously, I should have just used the pliers and cut that one off before the gangway, but I didn't, so hey, I broke it in two instead. Either the plastic on this kit is remarkably tough or my saw is remarkably shitty. I don't know. But this thing took forever to cut through, so I'll spare you the details. Right, we do now have two ships in three pieces, and I'm thinking about a layout that looks a bit like this. Ship sinking, the corvette is going to appear, and they're going to be sending lifeboats over. Maybe there'll be a big oil slick out here, and yeah, we'll see how they work out. When I started making this base, I just made it out of styrofoam and test fit the ships so that it would fit nicely and look like a realistic sinking, like the one in the photo that I showed you earlier. Here are some lifeboats that I thought we could go over trying to rescue survivors of the tanker, and yeah, I think it looks good. Now I had one big primary problem on this build, and that is how do you make a realistic sea, like with waves and the coloring and everything. I don't have an airbrush, so fancy painting was out of the question. But I saw some tutorials on YouTube on how to make them, and they use aluminum foil. So I tried, hey, I'll give that a go. And I think it was really successful. I had some smaller pieces of aluminum foil, curled them up, and added wood glue and water to glue everything in place. Now, as soon as all the smaller pieces were glued on, I added one layer on top with aluminum foil that I tried to preserve as nice as possible. And then I glued that one on the smaller pieces. And after that, I added a pretty thick layer of wood glue on top just to, erase the small cracks and crannies so it wouldn't be so visible. And hopefully that the sea would look more realistic. Now, I let the base sit and dry for about a day, and when I came back, it looks pretty amazing. I think you'll agree, as everything is rock hard and the diorama is really taking shape now. I have the lifeboats on the way over. I was thinking about adding this seaplane, but I later ditched that, but it was a bit too much, I think. Uh, Convoy, the corvette is ready, the sea is ready, ready for painting, and that is the next step. Started painting, and I used the base coat of this Tamiya XF17, which is the sea color, and then I used a layer of gloss on top of that, as you see in the far left. That's a Tamiya X22 clear, and on top of that again I used another product, the Tamiya X23, to make the blue gloss color. And yeah, I think this is really something. So the finished product and the bloody seaplane again. But I think it looks pretty good. I mean, the ship, I'm very pleased with the ship. After I repainted it, I think it looks amazing. I find some color schemes online, and I think this is, well, probably color scheme from the 1950s, but anyway, I think the ship looks really, really good. But look at the sea. I mean, I'm really, really pleased with that. So next thing now would be to paint the Corvette. I already did that. Masked it mostly randomly, but I'm pretty happy with that. I think it looks like a pretty nice color scheme. For the flag, I also found another improvement. use aluminum foil and glue the decal onto the foil, and then you can fold it and use it so it looks pretty natural like this. It looked like it blowing in the wind, and I'm very pleased with that as well. So we are closing in on this diorama, and for some of the last pieces I'm going to add some white paint on the wave tops to make them stand out a bit more. But it's quite important that you do this. You have to use a paper and take off most of the paint, so you have only a thin layer to apply the waves. And when you do that, you end up with this. And I have to say, I am very pleased and impressed with this thing. I think, well, wow. I mean, yeah, this thing turned out way better than I anticipated. So now I'm going to add some cotton from these pads with I stole from my girlfriend, and we're going to add some sea spray, particularly at the bow and the stern of the Corvette, and also in between the two parts of the sinking tanker. Final details now. I used some cardboard that I glued on around the diorama to make a nice edge, and I decided to glue some famous pictures on. I found some of the most well-known and famous pictures from the War of the Atlantic, and I thought I would glue these on the side of the diorama. I have some pictures of German U-boats, some of the Flower class, a couple of famous pictures from convoys and the Arctic convoys in particular, and some ships sinking. So I'm going to glue these on, and yeah, I think that's going to improve it. So tell me what you think in the comments. I think this looks pretty good. I'm really pleased with the pictures on the side, and I think they tell a story of their own. The diorama, of course, tells one, and these pictures sort of highlight the message that I'm trying to present. And for the final presentation, I printed out this picture that's supposedly from the North Sea, and I'm going to use that as a background for the final reveal shots of my diorama. Right, everyone, I'd like to say thank you so much for watching. I really hope you liked this video. I had a great fun making this, and I'm really proud of this build. I think this might be one of my best dioramas so far. I learned a lot of new techniques, and I will continue to improve my builds as I go along. Thank you very much. If you liked this video, please leave it a like. Consider subscribing if you like that. I will produce more videos over time. Thank you again so much for watching.